and they have reached out to me. And the funny thing is, some of them are NPP. I did a question more time, and I don't normally disclose my source, but I'm making you know. Say why if one come here Juma Hono, since Kusibuatin JFK Kusibuatin ebe a board chair of YE, the workers don't understand. This boy called Ohine Mensah goes there to go and take money every day for Kusibuatin. And they don't understand. Sika ewoho eyaban sika. How can JFK forcefully impose a Kusibuatin on YEA? Because Kusibuatin is already a shame come to JFK say Obabe General Secretary. Okay.
The attempt by my good brother Haruna to rationalize the irrational, or unrationable. I mean, you look at when the call, and the 466 days, I believe, is from when the members of parliament started asking for Ken to be taken out. The call for Ken to be taken out preceded even the members of parliament on the NPP side. So it's been longer than 466 days. The president clearly doesn't listen to Ghanaians, clearly doesn't understand what the pulse of the nation is, has lost a connection with the country. Because if we were to take the information put out by Franklin Kudjo for its value, it then supposes that the president has not done what Ghanaians wanted. Ghanaians wanted Ken Ofori-Atta out of government. He's actually been promoted and given more or less a supervisory role over the finance ministry. Because in his role to do negotiations and become basically the president's ambassador on financial matters, the finance minister works under him. Because the overarching desire of the president when it comes to the finances of our country will be run by that ambassador. So Ken has actually been promoted when we asked for him to be taken out of government. So clearly this shows you a president who is completely out of sync with the country. Again, it just shows you the dysfunction of this government and why December 7, 2024 must mark an end to this horrid chapter in our democratic journey by sending both Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia home. Just so that we can bring an end to the horror show that we've been subjected to for the past 7 years and 2 months. Why do I say so? President Akufo-Addo outdoored Dr. Bawumia against the will of many stalwarts of the NPP on the basis of one thing, his economic prowess, and the fact that this was someone he trusted to be able to effect and govern with him the changes that they promised Ghanaians. In fact, there are people in the NPP and many democratic watchers who ascribe the 2016 victory of the NPP to Dr. Bawumia. In fact, the NPP as a political party has acknowledged that Dr. Bawumia's effect and role in governance, in policy issues, his lectures, his credibility, the way he was sold to Ghanaians, was a key factor why Ghanaians believed that Nana Addo should be given a chance, not because of Nana Addo, but because they believed that Nana Addo was going to benefit from what Dr. Bawumia brought to the table. Now, if Dr. Bawumia, in his great speech, dubbed the next chapter, says that, in his opinion, the way to govern this country and govern it effectively is with 50 ministers. First and foremost, it raises a credibility question on Dr. Bawumia because he's part of a government and we have not heard him speak. Well, I haven't. I don't know if you have, Samson, but I have not heard Dr. Bawumia speak openly to condemn the 126 or distance himself from the decision to have 126 ministers in the first term of their government. Or whether he did same with 86. I have absolutely no evidence that suggests that Dr. Bawumia even remotely suggested his discomfort at it. In fact, in the 86, you have people who have ascribed their appointments to Dr. Bawumia, relationship with Dr. Bawumia. And the word on the street is my very good friend and big brother, Amin Anta, has been made Minister for Finance because he's Bawumia's right-hand man who needs to work on a transition for them. So you realize that even among the 86, several persons, my brother Hassan Tampuli and all, I mean, because of their relationship, have been brought into ministerial portfolios. So he now telling us 50 will work the magic raises a question of even a credibility deficit on his part. But then even a bigger credibility deficit is the man who came to government or was voted for by Ghanaians because Ghanaians believed he would rely on Bawumia's advice. We are now being told by Haruna that Bawumia cannot insist, he can only assist. Fantastic punchline or sloganeering by the NPP. Haruna, you guys need to teach us how you come up with these catchy phrases. He can only assist and not insist. Well, we were told that he was coming to assist. It means that even in his assistance role, Nanado no longer has trust for Bawumia's opinion. Nanado no longer takes Bawumia's opinion as credible enough to even give it a chance to implement. Nanado no longer trusts the ability and decision-making of Dr. Bawumia because look, and in the past 3 weeks, Samson, we've seen enough evidence to tell the Ghanaian people that Dr. Bawumia is not a choice for Ghanaians. Why? Because even the sitting president, who brought him on because he trusted his ability, has realized that Dr. Bawumia's opinions no longer matter. E-levy. Dr. Bawumia, if we are being told, was opposed to it. The president went ahead with it. If we are to take what Dr. Bawumia said at his lecture, bet tax, the president ignored Dr. Bawumia. Emissions tax, the president ignored him. 15% on electricity, the president ignored him. And now we are even seeing that the president has ignored Dr. Bawumia's opinion on the size of government.
But,
if the president...
You said a while ago,
yes,
that some people have earned those positions because they are Dr. Bawumia's men.
Yes.
So how come a person who is not listened to is able to have people in ministerial positions?
That's why I raised the issue of credibility deficit, that what Dr. Bawumia says to us must not be taken at face value. We must take it that he is saying things to win power, but doesn't mean it. Because what it points to is that the 86 the president has the input of Dr. Bawumia. Which means that when Dr. Bawumia tells you, if he really wanted the president to go with his 50, he could have nominated the people who are in government on his ticket and said, Mr. President, I'm withdrawing my nominees, so that at least the number will drop. But that is where the credibility of Dr. Bawumia is called into question, that you can't really trust him. And something, the last point I want to make is that President Akufo-Addo has shown us with this reshuffle that he doesn't care. He's checked out of the country. And the NPP is clear. It's clear in the minds of the NPP. The president no longer, he's unconcerned about whatever the challenges of Ghana are. This reshuffle is not for the governance of our country. For the next 10 months, the president is telling us that, look, the country is going to be on autopilot. It is for the political survival of the NPP. He's picked people who have lost elections. Some of these are ministers who, and look, something, you understand this democratic process. When a minister is appointed to an office, even if you are a subject area expert, it takes you at least 6 months to settle in and understand the bureaucracy and get a grasp of it. At least, no matter how good you are, it takes you 6 months to get a grasp of it. Now, some of these ministers have done this. They came in at the beginning of 2021. They've now settled in and begun. They're going to lose an election. They've lost their internal primaries. The president does a wholesale sweep of everybody who's lost the primaries, meaning those people have no political consequence to the NPP as a party. They can't bring any parliamentary seats to the table. And then what does he do? He brings in new people, many of whom are not subject area specialists, with the exception of maybe Dr. Okoboy, who is a doctor, going into the health ministry. Show me all the other appointees. Maybe Amin Anta, who again is a finance person and has been at the ministry, as a minister of state. The rest of them, none of them is a subject area expert. So first and foremost, you have people who are now going to, even if you use the 6 months, they have not been appointed they've not been approved yet. Parliament is now going to approve them. Even if we approve them before we rise at the end of March, take 6 months from that. That takes you to September. What are they going to do in that ministry, knowing that very well the campaign cycle is starting in August? So basically, the president is telling Ghanaians, as for your governance, I don't care about it. What I care about is getting people who are parliamentary candidates in my party into government, and this is why corruption begins to be an issue. Because the whole idea is to bring them into office, to give them an opportunity to be able to use the largesse of executive office to go and execute a partisan parliamentary ambition. The president's whole thinking is about the election. He's checked out when it comes to the governance of this country, and they kept Ken at office in office long enough to victimize the parliamentarians who went after him. And I can give you a list of them. Anya Soutum, Honorable Dr. Dixon, kicked out. Eves, Naughty. And these are people who called for Ken out and people who supported Alan when Alan was running in the race against Bawumia. He was not a Tema Central.
Led the campaign for Ken out. Has won. He's back.
No, do you know what he went through? Has he told you his struggles?
But he's won. That's the point.
He was the only one who managed to survive. But the lead spokesperson was a casualty. Eugene Subin. Eugene was kicked out. Everyone who led, with the exception of is it Asante Achem, I forgot his name. Andy Apiakubi. With the exception of Andy Apiakubi, show me one of the lead spokespersons for Ken out and those who supported Alan who survived. Every single one. So Ken was left there to go. Ken was involved. My ranking member.
Sylvester Tete.
My own cousin. Alan. My own cousin, yes.
Yes.
And as soon as Alan withdrew, he went on all fours, begging Bawumia, and became a Bawumia person. He switched camp into the Bawumia campaign. And even with that one, go and ask him, my cousin, go and ask him how he suffered.